this game ends up going the distance here, simply because... Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Group 5 of the Asus Republic of Gamers tournament here, where we have, spawning in the bottom right-hand position, is the red Protoss player representing Team myi.stardust. It is Stardust. His opponent is going to be in the top right, spawning as the green Zerg player, representing Dignitas. We have Tefel. And apologies in advance, by the way, for the massive pink square that you see next to each of these players' spawning locations at the moment. They appear to be custom decals that basically can't load at the moment. So what we have is a gigantic, some sort of otherworldly warpy thing going on for both of our players right now that looks like are simply going to be present next to their main buildings for a little while. Hopefully that doesn't detract too much. These games, of course, were not broadcast live during the event. So I am looking forward to seeing what actually happened here. I haven't seen any of these, and hopefully we just get some great games between these fantastic players here. Right now, of course, we've got the pylon on the low ground coming out from Stardust. Wow, I presume that is a massive team logo gone wrong there. So he is going to be expanding relatively early on. In the meantime, the spawning pool is going to come down first from Tefel, interestingly, before the hatchery pops down. So we'll be looking to see what he does with a little bit of earlier scouting information that he gets. They've spawned top to bottom, of course, so the first Overlord from Tefel isn't going to be able to spot where Stardust is. The second one, though, will be. And there goes the Nexus for Stardust, now in the bottom right position. So let's see here how this game is going to pan out. This is Group 5, of course. So for those of you who were watching the earlier ones, we did actually have San and ProTosser at the previous match, best of 3 here. If you haven't seen that, I will not spoil the result. This is the second match in the group, Tefel and Stardust. And of course, there's then a winners, losers, and a final match, best of 3 as well. So keep an eye out for those. Gas now being taken from Tefel round about the 3 minutes 20 mark, and we've got the wall off coming out from Stardust too. It is going to be a Nexus, then a Forge going into the gateway. So all very quiet so far in terms of this early period of the game for both of these players. Nothing too out of the ordinary just yet, just wanting to get up to their normal macro mode selves. And this Overlord now is going to be able to spot that Stardust has in fact spawned in the bottom right position. Expected this little guy to be diverting course, to be popping out somewhere around here relatively soon. So, in the meantime, we can see the cannon just to defend the wall here going down as well. The cybernetics core behind the gateway. Really not too much to discuss just yet. It is worth noting, though, that Stardust hasn't done too much in the way of scanning. I believe he did spot the Overlord that popped there, so he has a pretty good idea that Tefel is, in fact, in the top right position right now. But other than that, it is going to be macro, macro, macro. 27 versus 26 workers in favor of Tefel. We have Queens popping out now, and we're going to be seeing a third base very, very soon indeed. There's 300 minerals, and there is the hatchery. There is the big purple blob. So, yeah, we're going to be seeing just more and more drones as much as possible in the early stages of this game. Spotting this opponent did, in fact, go for a very macro-heavy Nexus first strategy. Entirely the correct thing to do on TefL's part. Overlord, in the meantime, interesting position for this particular Overlord, not wanting to risk getting shot up by any Stalkers in this position, but will be able to spot if a third base from Stardust is being expanded towards his opponent. So the idea behind this Overlord here is to spot if and when a Nexus decides to come out around here. In the meantime, we've got a Stalker coming out now from Stardust, going to be doing a little bit of that scouting himself and actually almost spotting the... In fact, he did spot the Overlord there just for a teensy second. Not going to go back and attempt to engage, though. As, well, here we go. The Stalker now going to be moving into prime territory for potential units to pick it off. Has to be careful because Metabolic Boost is about to complete. Doesn't fall into the big purple square. All well and good. The Roach Ward, in the meantime, is about halfway complete for our Zerg player. Alrighty then, and Immortals now being chrono boosted from Stardust. Is he potentially looking to get aggressive with this? We'll keep an eye on. We have the Mothership Core now almost complete. So a little bit later than you would otherwise see, just using his resources for other kind of stuff right now. And still continuing to chrono boost those workers. 42 to 43. Still in favor of our Zerg player, but we're going to be seeing a couple more come out very shortly for TEFL, not really wanting to stick on that kind of work account for too long, and he does almost instantaneously go up to 50. Here is the potential aggression we were talking about. We have 4 additional gateways coming up behind the main mineral line for Stardust here. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that, because that's 5 gateways, plus a second Immortal and a Warp Prism coming out from Stardust as well. So this could end up being pretty big. A 6th and a 7th gateway. Well, if this isn't big, then frankly, guys, I don't know what is. So 7 gateways, plus Immortals to boot are going to be popping out. The Warp Prism is coming out as well. This is going to be a huge 2-base timing from our Protoss player. How will TEFL respond? He hasn't actually seen anything just yet. The second Overlord didn't end up changing its course. It's all the way over here. If it was here at this point, he might have been able to suicide and fly in to see if he can spot some of these additional gateways. As it stands, he was not able to. He is, though, producing 10 roaches at a time. He's making an awful lot of units. And he's going to be at least somewhat prepared in terms of numbers. He's actually moving out, though, the complete opposite way of how his Protoss opponent is coming in to attack him. Might have been able to pick off these 2 sentries, but these Zerglings weren't able to spot it in time. Here comes the pylon, very close to the Zerg base. TEFL entirely oblivious to this. He's going to have to defend on this with what he's got. He's more and more armies actually coming out for him, so he wants to wait as long as he can. Good initial force fields coming out here from Stardust. He needs a few more, though. That's a lot of Lings coming in. He needs to protect those Immortals as much as possible. Fantastic time warp going down, actually, and he's really segmenting the army of TEFL quite well, but is it going to be enough? These roaches getting a decent amount of surface area now, and TEFL currently a 120 supply versus the 74 for Stardust. He needs to push this back. He needs to push back very quickly. 2 Immortals still here. Do we have more force fields available? Yes, we do. 3 more go down, and more roaches are getting kaput here. But he needs to continuously warp in more. So look at how many sentries there are with this army right now. 17, well, now down to 14 roaches. Ridiculous numbers, but these Immortals are just worth their weight in gold. The War Prism is a little bit offside at the moment, it has to be said, and these Immortals are very close to being picked off. Fantastic micro there. Still 6 sentries left. A couple of Zealots joining the fray, and Stardust now beginning to try and fight back. TEFL has lost an awful lot of roaches in this engagement so far. He's lost 3,400 resources this game compared to the 2,100 at the moment, and of Stardust. And Stardust is continuing to push further and further in. Creep Tumor randomly in the purple square there, but of course that the players don't actually see that, guys. That's just a function of this particular game client, so don't worry about it. Not affecting them one bit. 10 more roaches being produced at a time, and Stardust is going to continue with this attack. He's 2 bases. It's an awful lot of stuff that he's trying his best to throw at TEFL here. TEFL off of 3 base economy, 57 workers versus 45 right now. But will it be enough to stop this? Are we going to see a little bit of a counterattack here, or is he just trying to flank Stardust here? It looks like he's trying to go for the flank. Good initial force field, only trapping a single roach there. He might actually be better off going up the ramp with those force fields in place, but it looks like Stardust is going to maintain this position for now. A lot of roaches up top. No upgrades on the roaches, by the way. Also, just the +1 on the entire Protoss army, but these Immortals are going to end up packing a big punch indeed. We're patiently waiting for more units to warp in, but don't forget, 12 roaches at a time now being produced from TEFL. Has Stardust waited too long? Not quite the best concave he's ever had here. In fact, the concave is slightly better for TEFL, but just look at the amount of firepower going on with these Immortals. 2 time warps going down to try and stop as many of these units as possible from coming back. And, well, a couple of drones being pulled as well. This is looking pretty serious. 83 supply versus 123. But Stardust is being surrounded from all sides. He needs to be so careful with those Immortals. Are they going to get picked up? Doesn't successfully manage to pick them up. There goes one. There goes a second Immortal being picked up in the War Prism. He's actually going to go in maybe for a little bit of a drop here, trying to snipe off a building or 2. Here we go, behind the mineral line. What is going to happen? He's actually just picking off a couple of workers, and he is going to be able to head on home momentarily. But TEFL holds off this attack. So this huge 2-base attack from Stardust Stardust. Maybe he waited a little bit too long, I don't know, but tefel has successfully managed to hold it off, and now he has a scary number of roach. He's still got 31 on the field. He could potentially go in for some sort of counterattack here. He could just follow the pylons all the way down, take another base, and say, hey mate, yes, I know you have immortals, but I have 31 roaches. I'm just going to absolutely blast you all day long. And no matter how cute your micro is, you have to be wary that these are still a lot of units that potentially can come your way. So be careful, don't try anything too fancy. We've got the robotics bait coming up now from Stardust, still only on the 2 bases, not looking like he's currently wants to take a third. He has got the minerals to do that, though, to drop down another Nexus if he wants to, but right now he just needs to try and make his aggression work. So far, it hasn't, and tefel, as a result, is feeling like he's in a pretty rosy position. 142 supply versus 80 right now, and these Warp Prism Immortal combinations, yes, are going to annoy his Zerg opponent, but aren't going to be able to kill him outright. Ooh, Hydra's coming in, possibly targeting down the Warp Prism, and that's exactly what he's gonna do! Oh, and both Immortals go down with the Warp Prism there. That's a pretty huge blow. That basically frees up tefel to now start thinking about moving out across the map, because all of a sudden, that unit of harassment, that vehicle that was keeping tefel in his base, is no longer there. So tefel now going to be moving out. Let's see what kind of damage he can get done here against Stardust. Stardust currently down by about 60 supply. He has to come up with some pretty good defense. Yes, he's taken a third base, but it's very, very late compared to that of tefel, who basically is 4 bases now up in mining. Are these roaches going to be able to force the cancel? Ooh, and they actually prevent that warp in as well. So his initial opening blow is saying, look, mate, you're going to have to fight with what you've got. I'm going to continue making more units and trying to pop them over here. We've got 3 Immortals and a Colossus in this army composition. Will it be enough to save this Nexus? I'm not 100% certain it is. Continuously trying to take pot shots against the Nexus as well, trying to force the cancel before the main engagement so that there's a little bit more room for a concave. Does successfully get the cancel, and here we go. Great force field to start things off with from Stardust, but he needs to be very, very efficient indeed. 175 supply versus 114 right now, and tefel is looking to be an increasingly big position in terms of putting pressure on his opponent. More and more Hydralisks and a couple of links coming out now into the center of the map. Is this going to be enough to hold on from Stardust? Now still on 2 bases. Continuous production coming out from tefel. He is basically about to max out here, and Stardust has to break. He doesn't just have to break out, but he has to try and punch through this Zerg offense as well, so that he can perhaps pick off a base and keep himself in this game. Right now, economically, he is at a severe disadvantage. 67 workers versus 47 probes there from Stardust. So in the long run, he does not want to be where he currently is. A couple of Zealot Warpins to try and hack up this space over here in the middle right hand side. It looks like it might cause a little bit of damage to start off with. A couple of Zerglings just acting as diversion until the rest of the army gets back there, and all of a sudden these Zealots definitely are not long for this world. So consolidating is tefel. He's got his ground carapace about to finish as well, which is fantastic. So patiently waiting, not engaging that entire Protoss army before his upgrades were complete. Extended Thermal Lance is now, though, half done, and when it does get done, especially if he's got 2 or 3 more Colossi out on the field, Stardust is just going to be in a significantly more comfortable position. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. He's still trying to keep a hold of this third base. It's been cancelled once. It's been immediately remade. And Tefel saying, right, mate, now that I've gotten rid of that annoying Zealot run by, although incidentally there is another one coming, I'm going to go for round number 2 on this Nexus. I'm going to force you to cancel it for a second time and keep you on 2 bases forever and a day. There is the cancel going off on the Nexus. A lot of Hydralisks now. Huge amount of DPS from the Zerg player. Is it going to be enough? At the moment, I have to say, yes, they were good Time Wars, but it looks like it's going to be just fine. The Zealots, in the meantime, continuing to hack up this base here, and it looks like Tefel is content to run away. Don't forget, he got the cancel down on the 3rd base. This is the 3rd time it's going up here. So, as long as he can keep this momentum going, he's actually in a pretty good spot. Vipers now coming out from Tefel as well, looking to add to his army composition, potentially transitioning into the late game. 14 workers versus 8 have been killed, but Tefel is still ahead, 59 workers to 43. And the story of this game really has been attack from Stardust, not able to quite work off of 2 bases, 7 gateways and that robotics facility. Huge damage from the Immortals, but maybe left it a little bit too long, allowing Tefel to get too many roaches out, was able to defend. And now the follow-up from Tefel, just relentless pressure coming in against the Protoss right now, picking off this pylon that was spotting those annoying Zealot Warpins. There are a couple of Zets going via the top of the map here. So they will eventually be annoying, but tefel seems to be going for yet another round. He is not stopping. +1 is going to finish in 15 in-game seconds, so he will be able to time a potential +1/+1 attack. These Vipers are in prime position as well to try and pick a couple of these Colossi off. We have got, though, interestingly, these High Templars. Are we going to see some feedbacks? Yes, feedbacks on the Vipers are good. Is it going to be enough, though? 185 supply versus 146. It looks like tefel means business. A ridiculous amount of DPS here in the Hydralisk, but so much damage being done thanks to the splash damage from these Colossi as well. And the Vipers just were rendered entirely useless. Fantastic micro to prevent those Vipers from abducting the Colossi, using those feedbacks on the High Temples, and it looks like Stardust is just about going to be able to hold this off. The Colossi doing a tremendous amount of damage, using the Sim City as his third base really, really well there, and we have got this top Zealot Warp in, trying to do some more damage over here at the third base location. By the looks of things, some Zealots and Roaches are going to be able to pick it off. Not, though, before these Zealots kill off an awful lot of workers. 33 versus 11 right now, and Stardust is maybe smelling an opportunity for him to get back into this game, because for the first time in a long time, tefel now has fewer workers than Stardust. And after a little bit of a pause there we go, just getting back into the game. More Roach Hydra action from tefel, currently at 1-1 with +2 only just started. In the meantime, Stardust right now still only on 1-0, but +2 attack literally finishing in 13 seconds. If he can hold on a little while, fantastic storm. Oh my god, 3 amazing storms to start the engagement off. You cannot be eating these storms as the Zerg player. Yes, he gets the base, but that's a lot of his army that just went down. He's down to 116 supply. Okay, he's killed off the third base for the umpteenth time this game, but now he does have to deal with this counterattack, and these 5 Colossi are looking pretty angry indeed. That Archon to lead things off is looking mighty beefy, and we're going to need a lot more from these Vipers. If tefel wants to completely take this apart very quickly indeed. That extractor is going to go down, actually. A little bit of overeating at the buffet as far as those Vipers are concerned here. And Stardust, okay, he's remaking his third base again. He has to know that he has to do something pretty quickly. If you take a look at them, gone. Minerals in the main are, well, they're 30 minerals by the looks of things, 80 minerals away from actually being gone, so he does have to do something big, and he has to do it now. But he is basically at equal supply versus his opponent, and he does have +2 finished. And with these Archons and Colossi in the mix, kindly note that there are no air units out for tefel right now. He's got those Vipers, but he doesn't have, of course, any Corruptors or the like. So there's a good chance, as long as he's able to feedback a couple of those Vipers and take a really solid engagement, he could just kill off a base or two from tefel here. We've now just hit the 24-minute mark in this game. This is just game 1 in a best-of-3 series, by the way. The winner will go on to play the winner of Sun and Protosser. And then, of course, there will be a winner's match, loser's match, and final match as well. Blink is about to complete 2 for Stardust. Is he going to be using this as an opportunity to attack? I feel like he needs to, because the longer this game goes on now, the bigger the economic advantage for tefel is going to be able to grow. I mean, it was delayed quite a lot by a lot of those workers getting killed by that Zealot run by in the north. Let's not gloss over that fact. That was really, really good. But at the end of the day, in the long run, there are simply a lot more bases for our Zerg player. And he is going to have the opportunity to mine more. So, especially if he prevents any additional base from being taken from Stardust here. Stardust basically is on a clock right now. He has to win before his minerals run out, because otherwise whatever he has left is going to be his final army. And in the meantime, tefel just seems... well, he basically has the keys to the town here. We've got a War Prism coming in on the right-hand side. And, well, that gets spotted more or less straight away. And, ooh, very, very nice there. The Viper's trying to pull the Warp Prism back, and doesn't look like he'll quite be able to there. Good idea, not quite enough on the execution. The Warp Prism hasn't actually done any damage yet, though, and Stardust now looking to be a bit more aggressive, possibly taking this 4th base as well. He really needs it right now. And seeing if the Warp Prism is going to be able to... whoopsie daisy, and this Warp Prism is not long for this world at all. Going to be going down to those Hydralisks. Good abduct there by the Vipers. And here we go, Stardust coming in with his attack. It's 166 supply versus 200. Stardust needs to basically win the game with this push and hold his 3rd base to keep economically in it. He does not have a massive bank right now. He cannot afford to lose too much more. Chitinous placing is about to complete for TeFel. Will this be enough for the Ultralist to try and get him to win this game? This could end up coming down to this engagement, but Stardust is actually retreating right now. Okay, so back in the third, nothing too much happening. I love this probe sort of moving around here, just checking to see if anything is coming from this location, being a bit of an early warning system. TeFel saying, right now I'm going to counterattack. If I'm going to fight you, I want to fight you at your third, so that if I go down here, I go down very, very close to your third base and continuously put pressure on you. The Ultras do take out the third base once again. And Stardust right now, I mean, economically, he seems to be a little bit stuck. I love the fact that he's just moving away as TeFel right now. He's saying, look, once again, I've killed off this base. I should be able to afford moving off. And as long as I attempt to trade efficiently... Wow! 4 Colossi going down there is the... No, only 3 going down. Excellent storms, though, as well, coming out of our Protoss player. And I think TeFel just wants to continuously trade right now. He's got these 2 Ultralists and a couple of additional units. It's not quite going to be enough to polish off this army, but he's traded an awful lot. It's 79 to 61 supply right now. And if we take a look at the mining, well, only one side is really doing any mining. So you can afford to keep trading like that if you know your opponent basically has to be mining for the longest possible time. Yes, this base was taken out. This base, however, still has some minerals in it, and TeFel might be able to make something out of this. He has have to deal with these Stalkers, though, and the danger now is that Stardust, with what remains of this army, is able to do crippling damage. If he isn't, though, then TeFel seems to be in an okay spot. Needs to keep re-expanding, needs to keep taking those bases, and try and make something out of an economic lead here. 42 to 26 workers, after all, says that TeFel is currently in that economic lead. Lynx and Ultras now just double checking to make sure a Nexus hasn't been put down here. So we're pretty sure basically at the moment from our Zerg point of view that Stardust isn't currently mining. Everything he's got going is long distance until this Nexus gets put back up. So that is basically going to be the focal point of TeFel's attention. Hit that one more time, he says, and there is almost no way I can lose this game because my opponent needs money to build units. They're not free. He's got no Swarmos. He's got no Infestors. He's got no Broodlords. Let's see what he can do. Now we have a massive Ling run by here. Potentially also going to try and get a cancel, although the next is already complete. Is he in fact going to get a destroy on it? Probably not. Oh my god, those storms were brutally effective. And I think 2 storms plus the Colossus says absolutely not, mate. I know exactly what you're trying to do and I'm not going to allow it to happen. I'm a bit surprised though that TeFel retook this space a little bit late. He could have taken it at any time in the last couple of minutes. And I think it would have stood him in a little bit better stead. He could also consider expanding over here as well. Basically, once he took out this third and minimized the army of Stardust, I felt that that was the kind of the most appropriate time to take as many bases as you can and then consolidate before building back up. Right now, he's on 82 supply and trying to move forward with some Lings and Ultras, and I feel like these little prods just aren't going to do very much, and in the long run are just going to let Stardust completely back into the game. He's making a lot of Infestors now, though. Needs to be very careful about those feedbacks from the High Templars, I think. Couple of Archons accompanying this Colossus, just double checking everything is okay over here on the southern portion of the map, and going to be checking out if there's any residual army over here as well. There isn't at the moment, and therefore Stardust, I think he's basically going to consolidate. He's at under 100 supply. Ideally, he wants his army supply to be slightly higher before he pushes out. He needs to death ball it up, basically. And in the meantime, Gravitic Drive coming in for him as well. On the flip side, we have TeFel patiently awaiting more energy on his Infestors on this part of the map. Going to try and use them to cripple the army of Stardust during their next fight. But his lack of ambition to take a 5th base is making me really, really worried here. If we take a quick look at the income tab, yes, TeFel is mining more, but not that much more anymore. Not enough for me to say it's one side has a huge economic advantage over the other. And oh, good God, those are a couple of decent storms there. Oh, very nice. A 3rd storm coming in and killing off so many of those workers. That is a mass graveyard if I've ever seen one. 67 workers killed this game now from Stardust. And that actually takes TeFel down to 13 drones. That was big. I cannot emphasize how big that was. That just great micro with those High Templars there. And, well, he could be coming in for round number 2 here, just trying to scare these drones. A single storm, by the way, won't actually kill them off, which is why he didn't unleash it right there. Ideally, he wanted to wait for energy for 2 storms at least, so that he can try and trap those drones as they were moving away and kill the remainder of them off as well. TefL now basically seems to have had an economic advantage and has decided against it, for lack of a better phrase. One infestor going down, one very high energy infestor going down right now. War Prism continuing to do as much micro as possible. Are we going to see a storm? Yes, we are. One more storm off on these workers. And, well, none of them actually going down there, but an awful lot of them currently on low health. And we need to be very, very wary. Only 16 workers at the moment, so every single one is precious. In the meantime, more Archons, more Immortals coming out from our Protoss player. Stardust's army is beginning to look really scary, and TefL just hasn't been taking additional bases. I think Stardust is quite simply now just favorite to win this game. And excellent storms coming down there from our Protoss player. Good Fungal, actually, to catch that as well. And, well, that's definitely going to go down there. So, there's that swipe from the Colossus. Not going to be enough to get away. And in the meantime, Stardust just retreating backwards here. We're hitting the 36-minute mark now. And TefL's coming in for another attack, but he's down to 68 supply. Still haven't been able to take any additional bases. We actually have a Zella here preventing drones from doing just that. And Stardust is looking in an increasingly comfortable position. He's close to doubling the army supply of his opponent right now. Unfortunately, halfway through that game, I feel like TefL maybe lost the thread just a little bit. He played really well, actually, I have to say. But just started ignoring economy up to a point, and wow, these ultras are melting. Yes, we have some great fungals, but it's not going to be enough. GG, and Stardust, ladies and gentlemen, wins game number 1.